Welcome to the Get Sellers Calling You podcast for Christian real estate agents, where we help you grow your business with great marketing tips and grow your faith with powerful, radical faith Bible teaching. I'm Beatty Carmichael, and I'm glad you joined us. Today, we're going to be talking about growing your business with some great marketing tips. So, let's get started. Well, hello everyone again. This is Beatty Carmichael, and this is for another Mastermind podcast with Stuart Sutton. And for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting Stuart yet, you're new to our podcast. Stuart is a good friend of mine. He's a top producing agent out in the near Austin, Texas area, just outside of Austin. He was actually about my first client when we started to focus exclusively with real estate agents back in 2012. And we've built a great relationship, and he is a master at generating a lot of real estate volume on very few hours. So, Stuart, welcome back, and thank you again for your time.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah. And for our audio listeners, if there seems to be a delay between me saying something and Stuart saying something, there is a technical delay right now between us, so just bear with that. So, Stuart, what I thought we would do on our last mastermind, we were talking about the three most important things to do to make money in a niche. And there was a comment that you made, which is the focus of proper branding and positioning within your market, especially if you're in a niche or a targeted market, but even just generally as a whole for real estate agents. So I thought we'd go down kind of that pathway today and talk about branding and positioning that drives the business to you. So does that sound like a good topic?
Sounds like a great topic. I think that the more real estate agents become aware of how effective branding can change the entire scope of their business, the better off they are. So yeah, this is a fantastic topic.
Great. Real quickly, especially for those who don't know you yet, could you take a quick moment and share what branding has done for you personally in your business, and anything that might encourage someone who's listening to say, oh, this guy really does know his stuff. I'm going to listen really close to Stuart.
Well, we'll see if my words can fulfill what you just prophesied. So let's see. Branding and marketing are two different things. And to be a really good marketer, you truly have to understand branding. It's an absolute. But a lot of agents try to market without branding. And that's literally putting the cart before the horse. So when you are properly branded, the marketing is easier. The return on the marketing dollars are more significant. When you just market without proper branding, you're really just throwing dollars out there. And you described a situation before we got on air about that. And yes, I just see a lot of agents who throw dollars at marketing. And if you throw enough dollars, you're going to get some return. But if you market based on efficient and successful branding, your return is going to be much, much higher. And I think you'll see what we're talking about as we move forward on this.
Let me ask you a question, because I think most agents' understanding of branding and marketing, they see it the same. A lot of times agents say, well, I'm well branded. And I say, why do you say that? Because my photo is everywhere. You know, I'm on billboards, I'm on the radio, I'm here and I'm there. And yet that's not branding. That's exposure. But there's a difference between branding and marketing. Can you kind of differentiate those two for us real quick?
Yeah, and I think the word you used as far as that goes, exposure, is really a good one. You can really be very extensively exposed without being well branded. And the best way I can put it probably is that real estate agents are all on a level playing field. In other words, what does one agent have in the way of tools or abilities or strategies that another one doesn't have access to? Well, obviously someone with more money or more production may have access to being able to invest more into marketing, but the the availability of marketing, the availability of tools, availability of strategies, we pretty much all have. And as a matter of fact, it's proven the consumer really feels like real estate agents are pretty much all the same. Branding is all about taking yourself off that level playing field and rising above that playing field so that you're recognized for something very specific. Now, it very well could be your name, but that's probably not exactly what it's going to be. And you'll see as we move along what we mean. But branding is finding a position in the consumer's mind that you can fulfill a need that they have. Marketing is getting them to respond to ask you to fulfill that need. So there's a difference. The branding simply puts you in their mind. The marketing gets them to respond to you when they need what you offer. Does that clarify a little bit?
That clarifies a lot. And then I think the third thing that most agents just do is they do exposure, which is just kind of spit out there, throw enough spaghetti on the wall and hopefully something sticks. But it's not marketing or branding. They were just, a lot are just focused on exposure. But I love your separation. And you mentioned you can't effectively do marketing without being well branded. So
you can market.
Right.
But an effective brand basically bolsters your marketing and increases the return you'll get.
So let's talk about that. Which one should we talk about first?
Well, let's talk about branding so that we can develop that particular position before we move into the marketing phase to use the branding that we've developed.
Perfect. Let's do that.
So let's say that you want to become well known for and brand yourself for a particular area of town. The job that you have as far as branding is to take that particular area of town and in the consumer's mind, link yourself to that particular area of real estate as the go-to person. Now, a lot of people try to do things like farming and mailings and Facebook groups and things like that. But the generic real estate agent is competing with a lot of other generic real estate agents. And you can just simply increase your effectiveness and your return by doing something that is, well, it's used in every industry, just not real well in real estate. And that's to become an expert in a particular area of real estate. Now, that could be a property type, that could be a buyer or seller type, that could be a geographic area, but to become an expert and become branded and linked in the consumer's mind as the go-to person for that area of real estate is what branding is all about. So if someone thinks of, okay, I have a house that is on a golf course, and they just think, all right, all real estate agents. But you've branded yourself and you've done it well as the golf course specialist, as the expert, if someone wants to buy or sell a house on a golf course. And you've done that through a variety of ways. We're going to cover just a few. But if they have a choice between several agents, and the agents are fairly generic. Hey, great service. Hey, lots of experience. Hey, wait a minute. Expert in golf course homes. So they can choose between the generic agents, top producers, medium producers, single agents who give great service, or an expert in the type of home they own. Who do you think might have the edge?
Makes a lot of sense. I would obviously choose the one that has the expertise in my specific type home than someone who's just generalist.
Yeah, and that's the case in just about every scenario you can possibly think of. I have glaucoma, and anyone who's watched some of my videos may have actually seen this little scenario that I play out. My regular eye doctor discovered it, and my regular eye doctor has helped our family for literally generations. But I couldn't go to my regular eye doctor for glaucoma. guess what I had to have? An expert.
Specialist. Yep.
Had to have a specialist. So we did three things. First of all, we had to seek out a specialist. Secondly, we paid them more. And thirdly, we trusted them more. And we didn't think twice about any of it because they are a credible, proven specialist. So if I own a home on a golf course and a proven, credible specialist comes along, or I want to put my home on the market and I'm going to try to find someone who truly understands the unique aspects of my property, there's a good chance I'm going to seek somebody out. I'm not going to worry about their fee, and I'm going to have more trust throughout the transaction. And that's a really pretty hard scenario to beat.
You know, that I'm remembering some of the comments you made in the past. And for my listeners who don't know much about Stewart, Stewart markets in several different verticals, but one of his verticals is the 1 acre and larger homes. And he's the top producer in his area, within that that niche. And Stewart, you're mentioning that you rarely are in competition with any other agents, that your brand is such that the homeowners, when they call you up, they start with you first. And their comment is, well, since you specialize in 1 acre plus homes, we thought we'd call you first. And if we didn't like you, then we would call others. In other words, you had the first dibs at that listing. The other comment you made.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I said exactly.
So the other comment you made, that which has always amazed me, is because when we're talking to agents, because we talk to agents all over the country as they're engaging with us on our services, and a lot of times they're in an area where they're competing against the low dollar agents, the fixed commission agents and the discounted commission agents, and trying to compete against that. And I'd ask you the question, well, how do you compete against that? You say, well, I've never had that problem. No one's ever asked me to lower my commission rate. And when you're talking about the doctor and the specialist, you don't even think twice about paying more. I'm thinking, yeah, that's exactly how it works with you.
And it's basically a social rule. And if you've ever heard of a guy named Robert Cialdini, Dr. Robert Cialdini, it's a weird spelling, but he's written several books, and he covers different things that our society does without even thinking about it. There are several rules, like the rule of reciprocity, and the rule of contrast, and the rule of consistency. I'm not going to get into those, but if you think about it, you and I are no different in the way we treat someone that we understand and accept as an expert. We trust them more, we pay them more, and a lot of times we seek them out. And that's in everything. I had a bathroom flooring situation. I'm a little bit picky, but I will not allow transition strips put into any of the houses that I remodel. I guess flip is the best word now, and certainly not in my own home. Now, I'm not picking on anybody, and if you have transition strips, good. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just kind of picky about things like that. So we hired a remodeler to remodel our bathroom. They couldn't match the flooring up. So guess what I had to do? I had to call a flooring expert that I knew, who came in, did the flooring in the bathroom while the remodeler did everything else. But I had to have an expert in flooring match it up and properly float and level it so that the tile matched up to the wood. And it's in every industry. If you're an expert and perceived as an expert, and guess what? When they told me what they were going to charge, I didn't say, well, gosh, that's more than my remodel. They charged more for a reason, because they had the expertise to solve the problem that I needed. And that's what happens with homes on an acre or more. They don't really argue about my fee, because they see that I can solve the problem they have, which is finding a buyer who wants and needs what their property offers, which is different than a typical subdivision property. Sorry, I rambled a little bit on that one. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. And I don't see it as rambling because it's all education. I remember talking to another agent, and they don't sell on 1 acre plus, but they sell on waterfront.
Yeah.
And they were explaining that, this is a niche. The homeowners are looking for an agent who specializes on the lake or
Right.
on the river, wherever it may be.
Right. Right.
And that makes perfect sense.
Because you do have knowledge that others don't have. But let's start from a very elementary perspective. Okay.
Okay.
So, there are several kind of niches. Condos. It could be first-time home buyers. It could be VA buyers. It could be waterfront. It could be gated communities. There's just so it's nearly as unlimited as your creativity and your willingness to do a little bit of research. But let's use mine, Stuart. If I used my company name and email and all that, how would that differentiate me for those prospects? So when someone sees my name in an email, in my web pages and things like that, they're all branded. So Stuart at oneacreplus.com, just that email itself denotes an authority within the 1 acre plus real estate type. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. I still kind of laugh at sometimes when we get agents and their emails are just a bunch of, it's hard, or it's branding someone else's business, but it's just very generic.
Right.
And then you get like yours is 1 acre plus, Stuart at oneacreplus.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so clear. It's the message. Even the email is saying, this is what I do.
Right.
And that's part of the brand.
And there's some very simple things you can do along those lines. I mentioned, let's go back to the elementary part, but before we get too advanced. But your email and your domain are really a core of the type of business you do. Now, I do have Stuart at my regular real estate business. And in addition, I have my niche. And if you have a farm, I actually have Stuart at seaberrycreekhomes.com. So when a particular prospect, Stuart at oneacreplus.com, when a 1 acre plus prospect gets an email from me, it comes from Stuart at oneacreplus.com. And the signature is branded with my logo. What does the logo say? 1 acre plus homes. So if I'm looking for someone to represent me and I just see, Joe at bigrealestatefirm.com or Betty at biggerrealestatefirm.com or Stuart at oneacreplus.com, I'm going to go, wait a minute. And then the signature, if I send them an email and some information, is a logo that says 1 acre plus homes. And I've got in the training we do, I show a lot of different logos, and you can tell in the logo immediately. When you see my logo, 1 acre plus homes, I say, what do you think I do? It's very obvious. It's very apparent what I do. But if you look at other people's logos that they create because they want to have a logo and they want it, they were told by some branding person they need a logo, it doesn't tell what they do. It doesn't define what their service is, if that makes sense.
It does. And it seems so simple, right? And this is what I've learned about you and marketing in general. It's really simple, but it's not common. And it's simple to say, if I'm going to target this group, this gated community or townhomes or 1 acre plus, it makes a lot of sense that I position myself as 1 acre plus, Stuart at 1 acre plus. My logo is 1 acre plus. Everything I do is 1 acre plus. So when they communicate with me or see my marketing, then it all congeals into that one common niche that they go, this guy's an expert. It's so simple. Now I know it takes work because you have 2 or 3 email addresses, so you got to separate out. You do marketing in different areas, and so you have to do something a little bit separate.
Right.
Let me ask you a question, though. I mean, that's a lot of work. You have to choose. I'm sure with your emails, it will all comes into the same spot, but you respond out based on the email brand. But when you do marketing, you have to think, okay, now I need to change my logo for this one versus that one. And you're constantly juggling these different brands. Is it worth it financially? I mean, that's a lot of work.
Oh, it's shockingly not. What I mean by that is, and the old saying, takes a lot more effort to get something up and running than it does to maintain it. So it does take some time and effort to get these branding implements in place. But I literally I had a couple of students on Zoom yesterday, and we were, if you're familiar with Canva, you can share basically a document.
Right.
And so we were sharing, and I took the card they had made, and we started doing edits to it. And I will tell you what the edits are, because I think it'll sort of signify what we're talking about. Their headline was a nice headline, and it was well done, but there was no targeting in it. So instead of, if you're thinking about selling your home, we change it to if you're thinking about selling your what type of home. For me, it would be thinking about selling your 1 acre plus home. These are the 5 most important factors that will improve your home's value. So let's target, not just put a headline up there, but target. And that's part of the branding. So branding, targeting, you implement that in your marketing, and it makes it all that more successful. And then we went down a little bit, and we went into the body of it, and we created a sub headline, which again targeted and spoke directly to the consumer that they were targeting. And then we went into, like you call it, educational marketing a little bit, and then sent them to a video every single time. Now, the video wouldn't just be a generic landing page. Let's just say we're doing a video on what's going on in the 1 acre plus market and how it's performing real estate wise compared to regular subdivision homes. Well, we send them to 1acreplusupdates.com. Again, more branding. It's really a thought process. But so let's take that card. Now let's move it to my regular real estate business or a farm.
Okay.
All we do is change the target and the name, email, and logo. And we have an effective marketing card for a different set of consumers.
That's brilliant. And that's so easy.
Just about every time I make a card, I make 2 or 3.
That is really easy. So I think in terms of systems, right? If you have a process that has those same repetitive steps every time, you systematize it, and then you can just go through it. So you've said every consumer's the same, except they want to be treated, or they know that they are special.
Exactly.
Your marketing content's essentially the same. So all you do is you send the same content, but you customize it to each consumer group that you're targeting. And now it makes you look like the specialist for them.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And you've got to really support that credibility. It can't just be a claim.
Okay.
You've got to support that credibility with expertise and knowledge. I wouldn't advise anyone to claim expertise if they didn't have expertise, because the consumer will test you. Now, don't get scared about that, but if you have a little extra knowledge about that particular type of property, you're going to pass the test. It's really pretty straightforward, and it doesn't take that much to accomplish that. So in order to have an effective brand, you've got to support it with the knowledge so that you have the authority as an expert.
If you want more listings, we guarantee them an Agent Dominator. Whether you're marketing to a geographic farm, past clients and sphere of influence, a niche market, or even commercial property owners, our fully customized postcards produce up to 10 times more results than standard real estate postcards. And we guarantee your listings or your money back. So visit us at agentdominator.com to learn more. And now, back to the podcast.
So I don't want to get off topic, but that's an important thing to can we take one little rabbit trail for our listeners to say, what is that expertise I need to know, and how do I get it?
That's kind of why I slid it in there between
great.
branding and marketing. So
I love it.
If I'm going to claim expertise and claim to be an authority figure and claim to be a specialist, I've got to support that claim. And I'm going to go back many years. I've had two very successful niches personally. Okay. But I've trained agents to do all kinds of niches, 1 acre plus more than any other, but all kinds. And I had an agent one time who wanted to do a particular niche, and they weren't ready with the websites and the landing pages. And they wanted to get and they rushed it, and they sent those mailers out. And after a couple months, they're going, well, we're just not getting anything. What's going on? We're not getting anything. I thought you said this was great stuff. And so the next week, the sites go up and the landing pages go up, and the next mailing goes out. Got their first listing. Why? Well, because when I read that you're an expert, I'm going to go probably look and see that you are what you say you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the expertise was supported, they started getting the responses. Now, there's really 3 ways to build that expertise: product knowledge, niche knowledge, market knowledge. Market knowledge is nothing more than I know for a fact how my market performs compared to the overall market. I know the time on the market. I know the list to sell ratio. I know the success ratio. I know things about my niche that other agents aren't going to know because they just don't take the time to delve into it, and there's no reason they should. They're not that's not something they're passionate about or they want to be an expert on. But sellers recognize that, and that resonates with them. And that product knowledge is knowing the product. I know the houses and the neighborhoods. I go out and see them. I go out and preview houses. I go out and drive the neighborhoods. And so I'm going to know those better than my competition does. So if I know the product and I know the market, and then the niche knowledge is, well, you may not want me to go down this rabbit trail, but I know a lot more about septic systems than most agents do. And no, it's not fun dinner talk, but I can answer questions and go down. I just saved one of my sellers $31,000 because I understood septic systems, and the buyer and their agent didn't.
Wow.
Saved them 31 grand and closed the deal. So I have expertise in my niche knowledge, if you will. So
right.
As you go, you'll gain that knowledge. It's not going to happen overnight, but you truly, in a 90-day period, you can know more about your niche or farm than anybody else does.
You know what this sounds like to me? Work, right? You just have to work at it. You just have to say, okay, what do I need to know? If I'm going to be a specialist, what are the things I really need to know, and just learn it. I mean, I'm being facetious. It's
You're
not that
exactly
hard,
right, though.
but
Yeah,
it just
you're
takes.
exactly right. Just takes the time.
Yeah.
And again, I've said this so many times, and I will continue to say it. It takes time and effort and sacrifice to get something up and running if it's going to be successful. The maintenance is really pretty easy. I remember one time my wife worked for the same real estate company I did, and actually that's where I met her so many years ago. And the broker of that company was quite successful, and he played a lot of golf. And she was walking by one day, and there was kind of a bunch of agents kind of, complaining about how much golf he played. And I was walking by the other direction to meet her. And she stepped in and said, you know what? I think he's earned it. Did you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for the first 10, 15 years of your career to get a company up and running so that you all could have positions here? I mean, obviously she was kind of loyal because she'd given her a job at a very young age when he didn't have to. But he was very good at what he did, and he had earned that right. It's much easier to run that company and play a lot of golf when you put in that time and effort up front. Now, it's not going to take 10 or 15 years to build a niche, but it does take some time and effort to get it up and running so that you can have the freedom and the time and maintain it steadily.
Hey, I was amiss in starting this because you and I jump in. My focus is you've seen. I'm just focused, right? I had years back in my old office building. My brother came over. We're going to do lunch. Now this is an aside, but to focus on my comment. And I said, well, hold on. I've got a conference call. Let me see when it is. So I call up Leslie. And she said, she called the name of the company and said, hey, Leslie, this is Beatty. What time's our conference call? She said, such and such. Okay, great. Thanks. Click. And my brother started laughing. He said, no, hey, how are you? How's the weather? None of this social tact, right? It's just straight to the point. So we kind of jumped in on this because, you and I talked so many times, and probably our clients have heard you enough times that they understand a little bit about you. But this whole idea of the niche and these extra efforts that we're going into, I want to quantify how much more effective it is to actually take the time to go through the pain of setting it up and becoming an expert. So if you were to, right now, the amount of time that you put into your niche, if you were to put that into just general real estate, like everyone else, what is the economic impact difference? How much more do you earn in a niche for the same hour as you would earn in general real estate? Does that make sense?
It does. And, the big picture answer is considerably more. The hard number answer, and you've probably heard me say this at different times, but depending on the database and the niche,
Yep.
anywhere from 3 to 11 times the return for the time invested and the money invested. And it goes back to that social rule. If I am branded effectively and marketing effectively, the response is going to be higher. And you and I have talked about how to increase the responses within just a simple farm area. A farm area isn't just mailing once a month. There are ways to dramatically increase the response within the farm area based on the social rules that we put into place. And when we use those and take advantage of them, and we can ignore them or embrace them, they're there. They're going to be there no matter what we do. But yes, a niche is far more effective. As a matter of fact, I believe, and I have always believed, that your sphere of influence should be your number one income producer. And a lot of people in the real estate business, that's their only income producer because they make plenty of money doing it, and that's what they want, and that's all they care about. But I think there's money left on the table if you don't follow up with something like a niche, like an expertise. Because why do people really like to deal with past clients and customers? Because they're easy, because they trust you. They've been through a transaction with you. You know each other. There's a familiarity. But guess what? When a person comes to me that I've never met before through my niche marketing, it's nearly the same as a past client.
Wow.
It's not, maybe not exactly, but it's close. For example, my past clients, when they call me out, they don't interview anybody else. I think most people would say that the same thing is true for them. When someone from my niche calls me out, not every time, but between 7 and 8 times, I'm the only agent they interview. So when I say it's nearly like a past client or customer, I do mean it is nearly like a past client or customer.
That's amazing. So to put this in dollars perspective for our clients, if I'm earning $50,000 a year as a real estate agent in general real estate, and I move into the niche and just take these steps of the extra effort to put it together, for the same effort, I could be earning $150,000 or more.
Correct.
That's a powerful return on investment for the little bit of effort it takes to actually put it together.
Correct.
That
Yeah.
really is amazing. And you
And
mentioned,
then here's another thing is that referrals from your niche build faster than referrals from regular real estate.
wow, I never thought about that.
I mean, think about that. If someone has solved a problem for you, anybody else that has that problem, you tell them about it, right? And selling a house isn't really a problem. It's, again, real estate agents for the most part are fairly generic. Well, you should use my agent because they are so experienced and honest and have great integrity. Well, what about the next person and the agent they refer? Well, my agent is so experienced and has such great integrity. Well, who is going to say, well, you ought to use my agent? Their integrity wasn't that great, but they did get my house sold. I mean, who's going to do that? But what if you say, well, I know you live on 1.2 acres. My guy specializes in homes on an acre or more. You ought to give him a call. That has a little different ring to it. I just literally this week, my son found out he had to have some dental work done. So he's got to go to an oral surgeon. And so guess what we're seeking out? Good referrals for oral surgeons, not because they have integrity or experience, but because they are specialists in the type of surgery that he has to have. And you know what? We're not looking for a bunch of general dentists. We're looking for an expert in the type of surgery that he has to have.
That just makes, when you say it that way and put it in those terms, it just makes sense. Yeah. That's simple.
Well,
and it works.
it does work.
So we went down a little rabbit trail about becoming an expert. Okay. You have to have things to show that you're an expert. Now let's come back on the trail of where you're headed.
Okay. So we're going branding to marketing. So we basically branded, we've gained the expertise to say, yeah, we deserve the brand 1 Acre Plus Homes, or we deserve the brand Waterfront Expert, whatever the case is. Now let's go market it. So we've got to find the people who need what we offer. And what it really comes down to is that we're going to target those particular type of people. And it's just a much easier scenario than, okay, who do I market to? Where do I mail to? Where do I send out my marketing? Well, you're after a certain particular specific consumer, and those people are not hard to find. It's not hard to find condo complexes if you're going to specialize in condos. It's not hard to find what houses are on the water. It's not hard to find what houses are on 1 acre or 5 acres or whatever the case is. So the data is a little easier to disseminate from that perspective. And then the marketing, the target marketing to find out or to put information in front of them so they can find out that you exist when they get ready to sell their home. That's not hard either. You said you're a person of processes. That's all it is processes.
That makes it sound simple.
I like to say it's simple but complex.
Yeah.
And the longer you go, the better you get at it. I tell people, and we hadn't brought this up, and I'm surprised you hadn't, because it's one of your favorite things to say. And that is, I work so few hours compared to regular real estate agents. Yet the return on my money and my production is, well, just quite sincerely, most people really find it hard to believe. And I'm challenged constantly as recently as a few weeks ago, but I haven't worked a weekend or an evening in 27 years.
A weekend or an evening?
Weekend or an evening in 27 years, with one exception. And if she happens to be listening, or someone she knows listening, she'll say, he's lying. I went out on a Saturday, truly the first time in 27 years, about 4 weeks ago, and showed a house to one of my son's grandparents as a favor. And I think very highly of her anyway. But normally one of my agents would have done it. But I said, I want to say hi. I want to see him. And I went out and showed it to him. But other than Jan, who's very special, I haven't worked a weekend in 27 years.
So let's put this in perspective. So since you did mention I was amiss on this call of bringing this topic up. So let's talk on that real briefly. So your average hours that you put in your real estate business on a given week is how many?
In my real estate business,
Uh-huh.
I work Monday, Tuesday. Well, I hope none of my clients are listening. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and usually not this late on Friday, but this podcast, well, we needed to get it done this afternoon.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that's 4 days.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So you work 4 days in your real estate business.
Yep.
And average of 8-hour type days?
No, more like 4 to 6.
So this is getting even more amazing. So 4 to 6, so that's between 16 and 25 hours a week.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. I have long advocated and claimed this, but few people, a paradigm is hard to shift.
Right.
So I'll just give you an example. The last big company I was at, I was there for 10 years, and I was the number one agent 10 out of 10 years, and the number two agent did usually a little less than half of what I did. Yet I never worked evenings and weekends. No one ever asked me, how do you not work evenings and weekends? How do you do that? Nobody ever asked me. Agents just get into this rut
They never
Again,
asked you. Did they
they-
know it?
Well, I was never there on evenings or weekends ever. So, but the coolest thing to me is I never deal with rejection. It's one of the hardest things to do for real estate agents is to deal with rejection. Well, I don't ever deal with rejection, and I never work weekends and evenings. Now, those are pretty big claims. But
Yeah.
here's what I did over that time. Okay, for a while, because that my processes and all are so streamlined and so smooth that I actually ran a whole nother business, and nobody knew it. I never told people at the office, and never. You know what We Buy Ugly Houses is?
Right.
Seen
Right.
the signs. Well, that's a franchise, like a
Okay.
Schlotzsky's or a Subway or a Chick-fil-A. Anyway, I bought one of those franchises and owned it, and did a pretty good volume of flipping houses for years. Now, how could I do that and run a successful real estate business? Well, it's because those processes are streamlined, and sellers contacted me. I didn't have to chase them. And they paid me more and they trusted me more. So if you have sellers who seek you out and say, would you come list my house? And they don't ever discuss your fees with you and they trust you, those are real easy transactions. Now, if you have, and anybody who's listened to this know this, I've got a kind of a challenging transaction right now, and it makes the real estate business no fun. The reason I haven't let it go, I normally would, is because it's kind of a unique situation where that seller truly, really needs what I do and how I do it to get them out of a pretty big jam. But normally I don't take challenging transactions, not because I'm selfish, but it just sucks the energy out of you. And I'm talking about, I can do all these things for clients A, B, C, and D, and they just say, Stuart, you're great. We really appreciate your work. We know how hard you're working for us. I can do the exact same things for client E, and all I do is complain. And that's the type of client that I have the luxury of not dealing with. And that's because sellers seek me out. And then I'm not interviewing them for the job. Usually they're interviewing me to see if I'll do the job for them. And it's a very different position when they perceive you as an expert. And positioning yourself as an expert is not as hard as you think. We've already been down that path. And we haven't gotten into the marketing. And I'm sorry, I don't know how our time's doing.
We've got probably no more than 20 minutes, maybe 15. Do we have
Okay.
time for the marketing, or should we do that for another call?
Up to you. We can maybe start it.
Okay.
I mean, that in itself, actually, each of these topics could be, a full podcast themselves. But so we're going to take what we've done branding,
Mhm.
and then we're going to go to the consumer and put marketing in front of them. And the marketing that we're going to put in front of them is going to be, as you, and I just really like the way you introduced this so long ago, was educational marketing.
Right.
So what we want to do is say, all right, you own a home on 1.4 acres. Typical real estate agents will do this. We're going to do this, this, and this, which is different because you own a home on an acre or more. And that resonates with people. They see that makes sense. And what we've done is identify 4 areas and 3 points within each area. We have 3 points of pricing that are different than typical agents. We've got 3 points of presentation, promotion, and preparation. And that doles out into a lot of marketing cards. We can take any one of those 12 points and make a complete marketing campaign out of it.
Let's do this because I want to give enough time for it to really be a thorough topic. Sometimes you skip a rock across the water, it never really gets too wet.
Yeah.
So let's hold that one off. And I wanted to also shift to us briefly. You do coaching, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I sold my franchise, I started coaching. And again, I can run my regular real estate business, and then I can add another business on top of it because I like to do other things too. And I really do enjoy, and I've been coaching real estate agents as far as getting into niches and becoming an expert for years with with our number one area that students like is the 1 acre plus area.
Okay. So for those who are listening and you're wanting to grow your business, grow your income, and be like Stuart, work only a few hours and be the number one agent in the office, never working weekends or evenings for 27 years, which is pretty amazing. I love it. Then you might want to talk to Stuart. Now, Stuart, do you have any qualifications, people you don't take?
You know what? There's just a couple things you need to know.
Okay.
First of all, it does take a commitment and it does take investments. In other words, you can't become a niche marketer without investing in marketing. There are ways to start on a shoestring. It's a little more challenging, a little more arduous. But if you do have a marketing budget or can set aside a marketing budget, then you just need to know that up front. It's just absolutely not a hey, we're just going to show you the magic bullet to get free leads. That's not the way it works. You're either going to buy leads from somebody else, from Zillow or Realtor.com or somebody, or I or someone else is going to teach you to generate your own leads. And you've got to have a budget for marketing. Now, here's the thing. The marketing we'll teach you to do will make you a lot more money per dollar than most marketing people. And that's because of the way that we approach the marketing and the consumer. It's different than what you're used to.
Very much so. And for those who have seen our marketing at Agent Dominator, I have stolen much of Stuart's ideas and how he markets to systematize. So if you've seen what we do, then you get an idea of what Stuart does. I'm always trying to.
You can't use the word stolen if you.
That's right. I didn't steal it.
Have a fully collaborative effort, and we do have a collaborative effort.
He freely gave it to me and said, "Take it and run with it." So, the old adage, and the difference between someone in English and someone in marketing. English, the composition and grammar and English teaching, is if you're in an English class and you take what someone else has written and you use it as your own, it's called plagiarism. But if you're in marketing, you take what someone else has written and use it as your own, it's called research. So we've done a lot of research over the years with Stuart, and hopefully there's been some reciprocal research that he's done with us. But
no doubt. And I'll share this little story. I was going back to my mailbox. This was before I started working from home, which is the most wonderful thing I ever did. But when I had an office and I went and they got all these little mailboxes. So I'll go and I pull out my mail, going, okay, there's another flyer from that builder. And there was this card in there. And I read it, and it was from a mail marketing company, not M-A-L-E, M-A-I-L, a mail marketing company. And I read it, and my first thought, and I've told you this before, was this person knows what they're doing. And that is kind of rare in real estate marketing, to get something from someone where you go, you know what, they actually used some strategic marketing methods. And that's when I picked up the phone and called you.
I love it. And I vaguely remember how that transpired, but I do remember that I was thinking, yeah, the mailing actually got a real estate agent responding. But we have, for those who don't know, Stuart, I'll just kind of brag on you. We were talking about another client of mine, but Stuart had recently, this was a couple of years ago, I think, maybe 3 at this time. You were mentioning you were visiting with a friend of yours who had a large team. They did over 3 million in GCI. Mm-hmm. And you doing your little stuff, you got your other businesses on the side, and you're doing your real estate, your 4 days a week, no evenings, no weekends, no stress, only engaging with the clients that you really want to, the easy ones. And you said, Beatty, I took home more money than he did. And I'm thinking, that's amazing. So
it's true. It's about, and it's amazing to me how overhead can just get away from people.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to start getting fat in overhead. It's hard to trim it back.
Yep. Yep.
So, so if someone wants to inquire about your coaching and they really want to take their business to the next level, how would they do that?
And I'm going to ask forgiveness because I have so many domains for different things, but I believe it's the number one
Right.
acre plus niche.com.
I think that's it. Yeah, oneacreplusniche.com.
And I'll be happy to give you my email as well. It's Stuart, Stuart, at oneacreplus.com.
And that's the number one, the numeral one, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. And then if you guys haven't done anything with us, you're not yet ready for full coaching, or for whatever reason it's not a fit, do check us out at agentdominator.com. And but you also have to have a marketing budget with us. You know, it's amazing, Stuart. If you don't have a marketing budget, they can't work with either one of us.
Well, you know what? It's I certainly don't begrudge the just the sheer determination to, do what you got to do until you have a marketing budget. And I've seen plenty of people do that. I was one of them. I mean, it doesn't cost any money to pick up the phone and make cold calls, but if you have the ability, you just don't have to do that anymore. If you have a choice of contacting, of closing people and trying to get appointments and going through 100 calls, or people calling you and saying, would you please come talk to me? It's a huge, huge difference in the way you live your life and run your business, and prioritize your faith and your family.
So true. Hey, before we leave, I want to just share a message for those who are still listening, which my guess is most people who started this call are still on it because your information has been really amazing, Stuart. But you mentioned that the most productive, profitable niche is past clients and sphere of influence. And so with that, I want to encourage, even if you don't have a big marketing budget, or for whatever reason you don't have much excess in your marketing budget, that if you're not marketing to your past clients and sphere of influence, that is your highest producing list. Now, remember, a client of ours, his name is Randy, actually from Texas as well, Stuart. And he was with a large referral company out there that, if I mention the name, most agents, if you've been around the block for a while, you'll recognize this as a very big referral organization, coaching and training type of thing. And he had been with them for about a year and a half. And he told me I couldn't really measure any direct result from their service. Now, I'm not saying their service is wrong. Everyone gets different results for whatever reason. But then he came over to use us. And in his first, I think it was 8 months, he picked up 18 clients out of that same list that he was marketing to with the other group, that he couldn't measure anything, but he measured it directly to us. Because they were responding. Yeah. And, there's a message that you can communicate to past clients and sphere of influence, to anyone, but past clients and sphere of influence, especially because they already trust you, that you can start picking up a lot more of the transactions that happen if you just stay in front of them well. So I'd like to encourage you guys to check us out on that, even if your marketing budget is low. Well, Stuart,
your mailings are just, they're professional, they're attractive, they're appealing, but most importantly, your marketing message is proven and effective, and that's why your mailings work.
I appreciate that, and I agree. So, thank you again, Stuart, for your time. And I know I can't say I know you're a busy agent, but I know you have a structured schedule. You stay busy. I love it. I think, yes. So, until next time, and thanks for your time. And for everyone else on the call, be sure to check out oneacreplusniche.com if you want to learn more about what Stuart does, or agentdominator.com if you want to learn more about what we do. And you guys have a very blessed day. Thanks so much.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do two things. Number one, please share this on social media so other people can enjoy it. And number two, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to either our YouTube channel or our podcast audio channel that you'll find on any audio player with your mobile phone. And then that way you won't miss another episode. Also, if you want help generating listings, please visit our website at agentdominator.com, where we guarantee them or give your money back. Thanks again for listening to the Get Sellers Calling You podcast, and have a very blessed day.